changed in their face, you know. Maybe they were just too surprised.
Moet and Cottam survive the harrowing trip to the German headquarters and are delivered at gunpoint to the icy German commander, General Blaskowitz. The two officers have no idea what might happen next. One false move, and they could be shot. But it appears the Germans respect their nerve.
The Germans fed us huge plates of army stew, which they then apologized for because it was mainly horse. Things are tough all over. Perhaps to compensate, they then plied us with plum brandy. As Ken spoke fluent German, we decided he should be the one to talk to the general.
They were very courteous. There was a lot of saluting, introducing one to another. Oh, and I remember one guy, he would be an Oberleutnant, who got very friendly and produced his sister's photograph from his handbook, from his pocketbook, and showed it to me and said, "Is she not lovely?" And I said, yes, she's beautiful. "When you're in Dresden, you may look her up." He didn't do it, of course, but never mind. It was a nice thought.
Keep it coming. Go on. There we go. That's good. Save some for yourself. I'm not that cheap, huh?
A bottle of brandy later, Cottam and General Blaskowitz return. He has agreed to a truce. But they can't count this a success just yet. The truce still has to go up the line to the German High Command. Blaskowitz has taken a huge risk.
He must have persuaded Blaskowitz that the truce was inevitable and that if he moved now, he would gain some brownie points. So the story is that that little expedition of ours may have shortened the war in Holland by a day or two, maybe. I really thought when we went in there that that Cottam had bitten off more than he could chew, that we were going to get scratched, we were going to get chewed up.
When we left General Blaskowitz's headquarters, I thought we'd be heading back to our own side. But not Ken. We went the other way, to Amsterdam, deep inside Nazi-occupied territory, where we made contact with the local resistance group.
That's a negative.
Ken and Colonel Michaels, their leader, are now trying to radio news of the truce back to our own headquarters as fast as possible.
Time is running out for the thousands of starving Dutch. The truce negotiated with General Blaskowitz must be approved by both sides. Moet and Cottam can only sit and wait. Millions of Soviet soldiers, backed by thousands of tanks, rockets and aircraft, are reducing the German capital to rubble. They've conquered 3/4 of the city. Vasily Ustikov and his comrades battle from house to house as they move ever closer to the goal, the Reichstag. But it's a mission that comes at a high cost. On average, over these 10 days, the Russians will suffer 12 casualties every single minute. Many Soviet soldiers, fueled by alcohol, a hatred of the Germans, and a desire for revenge, unleash a frenzy of killing, looting, and raping.
Our attitude towards Hitler and what he did in Russia was quite obvious. The atrocities his army committed against civilians were terrible. They burned, bombed, and executed civilians in great numbers. They killed about 18.5 million civilians. I am often asked about how we treated the locals, especially the women. I can't say beyond a shadow of doubt that nobody did anything wrong, especially in the rear guard. But I have to say that our commander, General Zhukov, was not the type of person to let his troops go wild. Our orders were very strict, and we were very closely supervised by political and counterintelligence officers. If someone got caught, they were severely punished. There might have been isolated instances in the battalion, but in my platoon I never witnessed any of this. Of course, being a realistic person, I can't say nothing ever happened, but I never experienced any of this.
Gerda Pettersson is hiding from the Russians in a cellar with her family and neighbors.
During the day it was very quiet outside. You heard nothing. No, there have been no German soldiers. No, nothing was around us. And it was so quiet. And suddenly in the afternoon, the first tank we heard rolling along the street. And we all have been quiet in our cellar, sitting there, didn't know what will come. And then quiet again. And suddenly something shooting, I don't know what is, and the first Russian word, "Stoy." Stoy! I never forget the first Russian soldier I saw, Soviet soldier I saw in our small door of our cellar. It was a Mongol. I still see him.
The Russians grab whatever of value they can lay their hands on and take away the only 2 men in the group. But prisoners and trinkets are not all they're after.
Отведи этих мужиков наверх. Мужиков на мудаков. Фу ты, ну ты, палки гнутые, да у нас тут рассадник. А? Ну что? Что, бабаньки, кто хочет солдатского тела, а? Что? Ну что, хотите солдатского тела, а? Хочешь? Ну, пошли со мной. Пошли со мной, бабонька. Ну что ты? Девочку строили тебя? Давай, пошли со мной! Что такое? Что такое? Что, тебе морда не вышел? Морда не вышел, а? Что такое? Пошли со мной. За ним-то хочешь пойти? Пошли. Ах ты, сука, когда бы вам тут всем нахер? Петуха! Я, блин, вернусь, и мы еще поговорим, девочки мои. Хорошие, а? Милые мои золотые. Все, будем здесь стоять. Иди же, Петруха! Идем. Пошел, давай. Давай, стрелять, гарантия.
She's lucky. Her baby's crying has protected her. But when the soldiers next return, the situation will be very different. As the Russians rampage through Berlin, 15 meters below the city, Hitler compares himself to his hero, Frederick the Great of Prussia. He waits in vain for his armies to save the Reich from the barbarians. Yesterday he turned down an escape plan from General Weidling, the commander of the Berlin garrison. Having cut himself off from reality, he refuses to flee He wants to fall heroically at the head of his troops. With his armies defeated and in tatters, it is yet another sign of his weak grasp of the situation. Rokas Mish, his telephone operator, is one of the few people left in the bunker. He begins to fear for his own life.
I thought I'd never get out of there alive. It was like a concrete coffin for me, the death chamber I could no longer leave. I didn't know what would happen to the bunker.
April 28th. 10 days to victory. The resistance dragged Mussolini and his mistress from the farmhouse where they were held overnight. The plan is to take them to Milan to stand trial for their crimes. Urbano Lazzaro, the young anti-fascist who arrested Mussolini, is dismayed by this turn of events.
I only found out later what had happened. If I had been there, I would not have agreed to the killing. I wanted a public trial. Then, of course, a death sentence. But everything done legally, properly and fairly. I wanted a return to the rule of law.
The resistance take the bodies of Mussolini, Clara Petacci and the other fascists to Milan. People vent the hatred they weren't allowed to express when the dictator was in power. For historians, how Mussolini died is one of the great controversies of the war.
Well, there's been a lot of debate over the exact details of Mussolini's execution, and only recently there have been new claims that they were in fact killed by 2 Italians working for British intelligence. The partisans then claiming responsibility for political gain. The reason apparently was that Mussolini had some compromise